Hey, so tonight we're going to talk about a civilization often shrouded in mystery and romance, the ancient Maya. You see their majestic pyramids, envision wise astronomers, and picture a mystical jungle empire. But peel back that veil of exotic allure, and you uncover a world profoundly, brutally different from your own. A world where your modern sensibilities would last about as long as a snowflake in the tropical sun. It was a place of astonishing ingenuity, yes, but also relentless hardship and terrifying spiritual demands. So, buckle up, or rather, get incredibly uncomfortable, because we're about to journey back in time to the heart of the Mayan Empire. Before we plunge into this visceral past, do me a favor. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below telling me where you're listening from and what time it is. Alright, find that cozy spot, take a deep breath, and prepare to confront a reality that will make you truly appreciate your soft bed and safe home. The first hint of dawn in the Mayan world isn't a gentle chime from your phone, nor the soft glow of a bedside lamp slowly easing you from slumber. No, you're jolted awake by a cacophony that scrapes at the edges of your modern hearing. The piercing, primal shriek of howler monkeys echoing through the dense, dripping jungle, a sound that vibrates through your very bones. It's a raw, untamed alarm clock, far from the soothing tones you're used to. You lie there for a moment, on a sleeping mat woven from palm fronds laid directly on the hard, packed earth of your simple wattle and daub hut. Your body aches from the unfamiliar rigidity, every joint protesting the absence of memory foam and sprung mattresses. The air is thick, a suffocating blanket of humidity that makes your skin prickle and your lungs labor. It's not the crisp, climate-controlled air of your bedroom. It's a living, breathing entity, laden with the scent of damp earth, decaying vegetation, and something else, something sharp and animalistic, an undercurrent of untamed wilderness, always at your doorstep. As your eyes adjust to the dimness filtering through the gaps in the walls, you become acutely aware of the life teeming around you. Insects, 1,000 tiny unseen legions, have spent the night crawling and biting. You scratch an itch on your arm, then another on your leg, a futile effort against the persistent assault of mosquitoes and chiggers that leave raised welts, and an infernal desire to tear at your own flesh. There's no bug spray here, no protective screens on your windows, just the endless hum and buzz of the jungle's tireless residents. You push yourself up, the rough mat scraping against your skin, and reach for your simple loincloth or skirt, the only garments you possess. They're probably still damp from yesterday's sweat, and the relentless humidity never quite drying out in this constant, aqueous world. The thought of clean, fresh clothes, perhaps even a change of outfit, is a laughable fantasy. You wear what you have, day in and day out, until it literally falls apart. Stepping outside, you squint against the sudden blaze of the tropical sun. Already climbing high above the canopy, its heat an immediate oppressive weight. It's a different kind of sun than you know, more aggressive, less filtered by atmospheric pollution, its rays a tangible force pressing down on your bare skin. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, dusty, or muddy, depending on the recent rains, a far cry from the smooth, even sidewalks or paved roads you navigate daily. You step over roots, around puddles, careful not to stumble. The sounds of the village are already stirring, the rhythmic thud, thud, thud of women grinding corn on metates, the distant chatter of voices, the squawk of parrots in the trees, and the constant, underlying symphony of the jungle itself. There are no quiet mornings here, no gentle easing into the day with a cup of coffee and the morning news. Your senses are immediately assaulted, demanding your full attention. You cast your eyes around your surroundings. Your home is one of many, clustered together, built from the same readily available materials: mud, thatch, wood. There are no privacy fences, no manicured lawns, just the raw, communal reality of village life. Livestock, a few chickens perhaps, or a small dog, wander freely, occasionally disturbing the stillness with their own calls. The air carries new scents now, the earthy aroma of burning cooking fires, the slightly acrid smell of wood smoke mixing with the sweet, cloying perfume of jungle flowers and the ever-present scent of human activity, raw and unfiltered. There's no indoor plumbing, of course. Your morning ablutions are handled in the privacy of the surrounding foliage or in a communal area that offers little in the way of modesty or sanitation. The concept of a sparkling, clean bathroom with hot running water and scented soaps is not just alien, it's utterly unimaginable. You're acutely aware of your own body, its grime, its sweat, its vulnerabilities exposed to the elements. This isn't a museum exhibit you're observing from behind a rope. This is your life. The ground is hard, the sun is relentless, the insects are tireless, and comfort is a word that holds no meaning. You glance towards the rising sun, already feeling the first beads of sweat trickling down your back, and a profound sense of disorientation washes over you. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a fundamental reset of everything you understand about existence. Your body, accustomed to climate control, soft surfaces, and easy hygiene, is already screaming in protest. The first rays of the Mayan sun haven't just kissed your skin. They've burned away any romantic notions you held, exposing the stark, gritty, and physically demanding reality of a day that has barely even begun. And you realize with a sinking feeling that your survival instincts are woefully unprepared for even this most basic initiation into ancient Mayan life. As the sun climbs higher, painting the jungle canopy in a kaleidoscope of greens, your stomach begins its familiar rumble, a modern complaint in a very ancient setting. But forget the ease of a toaster oven, the swift brew of an electric kettle, or the effortless convenience of a fridge stocked with endless choices. Your breakfast in the Mayan world is a stark, repetitive affair, dictated by necessity, ingenuity, and the whims of the gods. You approach the outdoor cooking area, a simple hearth of stones where a small fire smoulders, tended by a woman, perhaps your mother, your wife, or simply a communal figure. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke and the rich, earthy aroma of masa, corn dough, the very lifeblood of Mayan civilization. Your meal today, as most days, centers around this masa. You watch as hands, calloused and strong, deftly pat and shape the dough into flat, round tortillas, no larger than the palm of your hand. These aren't the soft, pliable tortillas you might find pre-packaged in a grocery store. These are thicker, coarser, made from corn kernels that were painstakingly soaked in lime water overnight, ground on a stone metate, and then cooked on a clay griddle called a komor over the open fire. The process is laborious, each tortilla a testament to hours of preparatory work, from planting the corn to harvesting, drying, and finally grinding it. You realize, as you watch, that every single mouthful is a direct link to the earth, a product of immense physical effort, a stark contrast to the effortless acquisition of your modern breakfast. You're handed a few of these warm, slightly chewy tortillas. There's no plate, no cutlery, just your hands. The texture is rough against your fingers, the taste earthy and subtly sweet, but also a little bland to your modern palate, accustomed to an explosion of flavors and spices. Alongside the tortillas, you might receive a small bowl of cooked beans, simmered until soft, perhaps seasoned with a touch of chili, a rare luxury that adds a welcome kick. There's no sugar, no salt beyond what naturally occurs, no butter, no cheese. Forget coffee, tea, or orange juice. Your beverage is likely plain water, perhaps a simple fermented corn drink called atoll, thick and slightly sour. The very thought of milk, a glass of cold, fresh milk, is an unimaginable indulgence, a product of animals not readily available or domesticated in the same way here. As you eat, you're acutely aware of the hygiene, or rather, the distinct lack thereof. There's no running water for washing hands before meals, no soap. Hands that tend the fire, grind the corn, and shape the tortillas have also been working in the fields, handling animals, and perhaps even tending to personal needs without the benefit of modern sanitation. Flies buzz persistently around the food, drawn by the aromas. You wave them away instinctively, a reflex that would be considered polite in your time, but here it's simply a battle you can't win. The food might be cooked, yes, but the conditions of its preparation, the lack of refrigeration for ingredients, the constant presence of dust and insects, all conspire to create an environment ripe for pathogens that your body, accustomed to pristine food safety standards, is entirely unprepared for. You chew slowly, savoring the simple sustenance, recognizing its profound importance. This isn't a meal for pleasure, it's fuel for survival. You're eating not just calories, but the very essence of the Mayan world, its agrarian rhythm, its connection to the cycles of nature. Your body, used to a varied diet of proteins, fats, and refined carbohydrates, is already sending signals of distress. The high fiber content, the lack of diverse nutrients, the sheer difference in microbial exposure, it all sets your digestive system on edge. You feel a familiar internal rumbling, a discomfort that suggests your modern gut flora is waging a losing battle against this ancient, unyielding diet. The communal aspect of the meal is also striking. There's no private dining table. You sit on the ground or on a low stool alongside other members of your household or village. Conversation is sparse, often practical, focused on the day's tasks, the weather, the health of the crops. There's no smartphone to scroll through, no morning news to consume, no quiet moment of individual reflection. Your attention is entirely on the food, the people around you, and the immediate environment. You eat quickly, efficiently, because there's work to be done. There's no lingering over a second cup of anything, no leisurely reading of a newspaper. As you finish wiping your hands on your loincloth, again, no napkins, no sink, you feel a strange mix of fullness and emptiness. Your stomach is full, yes, but your modern self craves something more, something familiar, something clean. The taste lingers, a stark reminder of the fundamental difference between your worlds. You realize that breakfast of champions in this context isn't about luxury or choice. It's about survival. It's about consuming enough calories to fuel the grueling day ahead, accepting the risks of an unhygienic environment, and embracing a diet that, while sustaining an empire for millennia, would likely send your pampered modern digestive system into a tailspin before the afternoon sun even reached its zenith. This simple meal has already challenged your assumptions about sustenance and pushed your bodily limits in ways you never imagined. With the meager breakfast settling in your stomach, the true work of the day begins. Forget your air-conditioned office, your ergonomic chair, or the intellectual demands of your modern job. In the Mayan world, your calling is to the earth, to the fields that feed the community, to the unrelenting labor that fuels an empire built on agriculture. You are unequivocally a farmer. There's no option for a different profession, no career choice to be made. Your life, your very survival, is tied to the soil, to the cycles of planting, tending, and harvesting. You grab your tools, simple implements crafted from wood, stone and bone, a digging stick, perhaps a stone axe. The gleam of polished steel, the hum of machinery, the power of a tractor are concepts utterly alien. Everything here is done by hand, with muscle and sweat, a direct testament to human endurance against the raw power of nature. As you make your way to the milpa, the cornfield, the humidity already feels like a physical presence, clinging to your skin, making your clothes heavy with moisture. The air is thick, alive with the buzzing of unseen insects and the calls of exotic birds. A symphony that, while beautiful, also signals the constant vigilance required in this untamed environment. The path to the fields is not a paved road. It's a winding, uneven trail, worn smooth by generations of bare feet, pushing through dense jungle foliage. You navigate around exposed roots, step over fallen branches, and constantly scan the undergrowth. Every rustle could be a venomous snake, every shadow a lurking predator. Your modern brain, accustomed to the curated safety of nature parks and suburban trails, struggles to process this immediate, pervasive sense of danger. You're not just going for a hike. You're entering a wild, unpredictable ecosystem where you are just another link in the food chain. When you reach the milpa, the scale of the task ahead hits you. These aren't neat manicured rows like you see in commercial farms. This is a patchwork of cultivated land carved out of the relentless jungle, often using the slash and burn method. You might be clearing new land, hacking away at secondary growth with your stone axe, the effort quickly burning through your meager breakfast calories. The work is physically brutal. You're swinging, chopping, pulling, digging under the direct, unyielding glare of the tropical sun. Your muscles, accustomed to lighter loads and intermittent bursts of activity, scream in protest almost immediately. Your back aches, your hands begin to blister, and sweat, profuse and unending, streams down your face, stinging your eyes. Weeding is another constant battle. The jungle is an aggressive opponent, always seeking to reclaim its territory. You stoop for hours, pulling at stubborn vines and aggressive grasses, your fingers sifting through the warm, damp soil. Every movement is deliberate, every muscle engaged. There's no break, no moment of respite other than a quick sip of water from a gourd, shared communally. The sun beats down, relentlessly dehydrating you, and the insects are a constant nuisance, biting and buzzing, distracting you from the meticulous work. You feel the grit of the soil beneath your fingernails, the small cuts and abrasions forming on your exposed skin, perfect entry points for infection, but the dangers extend beyond simple physical exhaustion. You are constantly alert for the slithering movement of a snake, perhaps a deadly fer-de-lance or coral snake, whose bites mean a slow, agonizing death in a world without anti-venom. You listen for the growl of a jaguar, though they are usually shy. Their presence is a stark reminder of who truly rules this wilderness. You learn to recognize the buzzing swarm of angry wasps, the bite of fire ants, the almost invisible sting of certain plants. Your senses, dulled by modern comfort, are now hyper-alert, finely tuned to the subtle warnings of the jungle. The sheer scale of the agricultural effort is staggering. You are not just growing food for yourself. You are contributing to the sustenance of your entire village, perhaps even the larger city-state. Your individual labor directly impacts the survival of hundreds, even thousands. There's an immense pressure, a weight of communal responsibility that far surpasses any deadline or project you've ever faced. Failure to work, failure of the crops, means starvation, not just for you, but for your family. Your neighbors, as the sun begins its slow descent, painting the western sky in fiery hues, you drag your aching body back towards the village. Your muscles are screaming, your skin is sunburned and itchy, and your mind is clouded with exhaustion. You feel the grime of the day caked onto you, sweat, soil, insect repellent, or lack thereof. There's no hot shower waiting, no comfortable armchair to collapse into, just the prospect of another simple meal and another night on a hard mat. The physical demands of just one day in the Mayan fields have pushed you to the absolute brink, making you realize that your modern body, for all its occasional gym visits, is utterly unprepared for the unyielding, back-breaking, and dangerous reality of ancient agriculture. You haven't even contemplated tomorrow yet, but your bones already ache at the thought. If your day begins in the fields, it will inevitably lead you at some point into the beating heart of the Mayan world, the city. Forget the planned grid of modern metropolises, the wide boulevards, the organized traffic. A Mayan city is an organic, pulsating entity, a labyrinth of causeways, plazas, and towering stone structures that rise from the jungle floor with an almost unnatural majesty. As you approach, leaving the relative quiet of the agricultural lands behind, the sounds begin to assault you, a dense, swirling cacophony of human voices, animal cries. the rhythmic thrum of drums from a distant temple, the high-pitched call of vendors. It's a sensory overload, immediately overwhelming your modern ears accustomed to filtered, ordered soundscapes. The air itself is a living, breathing entity, thick with 1,000 conflicting odors. There's the pervasive, sweet and sickly scent of copal incense, constantly burning at altars and temples, mixing with the sharp, acrid tang of wood smoke from countless cooking fires. Beneath that, you discern the damp, earthy smell of the jungle, always trying to reclaim its territory, intertwining with the unmistakable, powerful odor of human bodies, unwashed, sweating in the tropical heat. And then there are the darker notes, the more unsettling aromas. The metallic tang of fresh blood from a recent sacrifice, the heavy, sweet scent of decaying organic matter, refuse and human waste. Your modern nose, accustomed to air fresheners and sanitation, recoils instinctively, but there is no escaping it. This is the very air you breathe. You push your way through the crowds, a dense, swirling mass of humanity that moves with its own rhythm. There's no concept of personal space here, no polite apologies for accidental bumps. Bodies press against yours, damp with sweat, some adorned with elaborate tattoos and piercings, others simple and unadorned. You feel the rough texture of their woven cotton clothing, the occasional brush of bare skin. Your modern discomfort with close physical proximity is immediately challenged. You are one face in a sea of faces, all moving with a purpose you might not fully grasp. The ground beneath your bare feet, or perhaps simple sandals, is uneven, a mix of packed earth, crushed limestone, and ancient paving stones. There are no smooth, sterile surfaces. Every step requires attention lest you trip over an unseen obstacle or stumble into a bustling market stall. Waste, both human and animal, is present on the periphery, adding to the unhygienic landscape. There are no designated waste bins, no complex sewage systems. The Mayan cities, for all their architectural splendor, were not built with modern notions of public health in mind. You walk past vendors hawking their wares, vibrant pottery, intricate carvings of jade and obsidian, woven textiles, baskets overflowing with exotic fruits and vegetables, and, of course, the ubiquitous corn. The sheer diversity of goods is captivating. The manner of commerce is raw. There's no currency in the modern sense. Trade is conducted through bartering, a complex system of negotiation that demands a quick wit and an understanding of relative value that you, a newcomer, entirely lack. Your modern attempts at polite transaction would be met with confusion or worse, seen as weakness to be exploited. Your gaze is constantly drawn upwards to the monumental architecture, the towering pyramids, their steep steps leading to temples adorned with intricate carvings of jaguars, feathered serpents and fearsome deities. You see priests, recognizable by their elaborate headdresses and ritual garb, moving with an air of solemn authority. You see warriors, their bodies painted, their obsidian-edged weapons glinting in the sun, a constant reminder of the ever-present threat of conflict. You are acutely aware of the rigid social hierarchy visibly displayed in the clothing, the ornaments, the very posture of those around you. You, a simple farmer or commoner, are at the bottom, expected to defer, to avoid eye contact with those of higher status. Your modern notions of equality and individual rights are utterly meaningless here. The greatest invisible danger, however, lurks in the very air and water. The lack of sanitation means that diseases, dysentery, cholera, malaria, yellow fever, a host of unknown viruses and bacteria, are rampant. Your body, with its robust modern immune system built on a foundation of vaccines and antibiotics, is a pristine canvas for ancient pathogens to attack. Every sip of unpurified water, every fly that lands on your food, every unwashed hand that touches you is a potential vector for a sickness that would quickly overwhelm your unprepared defenses. A common stomach bug, an easily treatable infection in your world, could quickly become a death sentence here, turning your day in the city into a rapid, agonizing decline. As you navigate this vibrant, dangerous, and utterly alien urban landscape, you realize that your modern comforts, your clean water, your pharmaceuticals, your personal space, your social equality are not mere conveniences, but fundamental components of your survival. The Mayan city, for all its awe-inspiring grandeur, is a relentless assault on your senses, your health, and your understanding of human interaction. The sheer density of life, the unfiltered reality of existence, and the constant threat of unseen killers in the very air and food would leave your modern self incapacitated, sick, and utterly disoriented before the sun had even reached its highest point. The city's pulse is strong, yes, but for you, it sounds like a drumbeat leading straight to your inevitable demise. The sun is nearing its zenith, casting sharp, unforgiving shadows from the towering temples, and the air is growing heavier, more charged. This is no mere midday lull. This is a time when the spiritual world presses most intensely upon the mortal realm. You feel it in the shifting atmosphere, the sudden hush that falls over parts of the city, punctuated by the rhythmic chanting of priests, the distant wail of a conch shell, or the mournful cry of a drum. For you, raised in a world where spirituality is often a private choice, a personal belief system, the sheer, overwhelming pervasiveness of the Mayan religion is a profound shock. It's not just a part of life. It is life, dictating every breath, every action, every moment. You live under the crushing weight of constant obligation to a pantheon of powerful, often terrifying gods. The sun god, Kinich Ahau, demands homage for his daily journey across the sky. The rain god, Chak, must be appeased to bring the life-giving waters for your crops. The maize god, Yamkax, needs constant gratitude for your food. And then there are the underworld deities, the gods of war, of sacrifice, of creation and destruction, all demanding their due, all capable of bestowing blessings or unleashing unimaginable wrath. Your modern skepticism, your rational scientific worldview, is not just irrelevant here. It is a dangerous, potentially fatal heresy. To question the gods, even in your mind, is to invite cosmic disaster. Today, you might find yourself drawn, or perhaps compelled, towards a public ceremony in one of the grand plazas. The air is thick with the scent of copal incense, burning in clay censers, its sweet, smoky tendrils spiraling upwards towards the heavens. You join the gathered crowd, pressed shoulder to shoulder with other commoners, all gazing upwards towards the top of a pyramid temple. Priests adorned in elaborate feathered headdresses, jaguar skins, and intricate jade jewelry move with a solemn, deliberate grace. Their faces are often painted, their bodies ritually scarred, their presence radiating an aura of terrifying sanctity. As the ceremony unfolds, you witness acts that would turn your modern stomach. Perhaps it's a bloodletting ritual where a ruler or high-ranking priest, in a supreme act of devotion, pierces his own tongue, ears, or even penis with a stingray spine or obsidian blade, allowing his precious blood to drip onto paper or cloth, which is then burned as an offering to the gods. The sight of it, the raw, visceral act of self-mutilation, is horrifying to your sensibilities. The collective gasp, the hushed reverence of the crowd, tells you this is not brutality, but profound piety. You are expected to feel awe, not revulsion, or perhaps even more chillingly, it is a human sacrifice. A captive, probably a warrior from a rival city-state, is led up the steep steps of the pyramid. His body is painted, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and ritualistic acceptance. You hear the rhythmic drumming, the hypnotic chanting, the collective anticipation of the crowd. Then, at the very pinnacle of the temple, before the altar of a fearsome deity, you witness the priest with a single, swift motion plunge an obsidian knife into the captive's chest, tearing out his still-beating heart, which is then offered to the gods. The blood, dark and viscous, flows down the temple steps, a macabre offering, a stark reminder of the ultimate price demanded by the divine. Your mind screams in protest. Your modern ethics, built on concepts of human rights and the sanctity of life, are utterly shattered. You want to look away, to run, to scream against the injustice and brutality. But you cannot. To show fear, to show revulsion, to express any dissent would be to invite the wrath of both the gods and your fellow Mayan. You are expected to be stoic, to understand the necessity of this ultimate offering, to believe that this act secures the continued existence of the world, the rising of the sun, the coming of the rain. You are forced to bear witness, to participate through your presence, in an act that violates every moral fiber of your being. The Mayan calendar, a marvel of astronomical precision, isn't just a way to track time. It's a sacred document, a roadmap of divine influence. Every day has its own auguries, its own gods, its own rituals. You live in constant awareness of these cycles, constantly seeking to align your actions with the will of the cosmos. There are good days for planting, bad days for travel, auspicious days for birth, perilous days for war. Your modern reliance on personal choice and free will seems utterly quaint in a world where your destiny is intricately woven into the fabric of divine will and cosmic prediction. As the ceremony concludes and the crowd slowly disperses, you feel a profound sense of spiritual exhaustion. The sheer weight of constant religious observance, the terrifying demands of the gods, the brutal reality of sacrifice, it's an emotional and psychological burden that your modern self is completely unequipped to handle. You realize that your comfortable secular world has shielded you from a profound, terrifying truth. That in ancient Maya, the gods were not distant metaphors. They were immediate, palpable, and lethally demanding entities whose whims held the power of life and death, and whose satisfaction required a degree of devotion and brutality that would irrevocably break your modern spirit long before the day was out. As the day progresses, and the heat reaches its peak, a different kind of tension settles over the Mayan landscape. Beyond the fields and the temples, beyond the daily rituals, lies the ever-present simmering threat of warfare. Forget your notions of international diplomacy, formal declarations of war, or even the Geneva Convention. In the fragmented world of the Mayan city-states, conflict is an endemic, almost constant state. A brutal dance of raids, skirmishes, and full-scale battles, driven by a complex web of rivalries, resource control, and, most potently, the insatiable demand for sacrificial victims to appease the hungry gods. You might be in the fields, or perhaps just returning to your humble hut, when the sound shatters the relative peace, a distant, rhythmic drumming, deep and resonant, rapidly growing louder. It's the war drum, a sound that instantly sends a chill down your spine, far more visceral and terrifying than any modern air raid siren. You see people scrambling, eyes wide, with a primal fear you recognize instantly. Women rush to gather children, herding them towards the safest part of the village, perhaps a fortified structure or a hidden cave. Men, if they are warriors, grab their weapons, spears tipped with fire-hardened wood or razor-sharp obsidian, atlatls for throwing darts, clubs studded with obsidian blades, wicker shields. There's no sophisticated weaponry, no gunpowder, no long-range artillery, but the instruments of war are no less deadly in their raw, brutal effectiveness. Your modern self, accustomed to the relative peace of your developed nation, to the idea of professional armies and distant conflicts, is paralyzed by the immediacy of it. This isn't a news report from a far-off land. This is your village, your family, your life on the line. You are not a combatant, perhaps, but your proximity to the battlefront is terrifying. You might be forced to hide, listening to the horrifying sounds of battle drawing closer, the shouts of warriors, the clash of primitive weapons, the screams of the wounded. The air fills with a new smell now, the coppery tang of fear and blood mixing with the dust and sweat. If you are unfortunate enough to be caught in the open, or if your village is overwhelmed, the reality of Mayan warfare would be swift and merciless. There are no rules of engagement as you understand them. The primary goal is not always to kill outright, but to capture. Captives are highly valued, destined for the ultimate sacrifice on the altars of victorious city-states. You would see the brutal hand-to-hand combat up close, obsidian blades, sharper than surgical steel, tearing flesh, clubs smashing bone, spears finding their mark with sickening thuds. Your modern mind, so accustomed to the sanitized violence of movies and video games, would be utterly unprepared for the visceral, messy reality of ancient combat, where every wound is raw, every scream is real, and the outcome is often a gruesome end. Imagine the sheer terror of being pursued, of hearing the heavy thud of feet behind you, the guttural shouts of warriors seeking a live prize. Your only hope is to flee, to disappear into the dense, unforgiving jungle, hoping that the natural environment will offer you better protection than any man-made defense. But even then, the jungle itself holds its own dangers, and the trained Mayan warrior, intimately familiar with his environment, would likely have the advantage. Should you be captured, your fate would be sealed. You would be stripped of your dignity, possibly marked with paint or a symbolic wound, and paraded before your captors as a trophy. The journey back to the victorious city-state would be arduous, filled with humiliation and the gnawing certainty of your impending doom. You would be displayed, perhaps ritually tortured, and then at a moment chosen by the priests and rulers, you would be led up the steps of a pyramid to become an offering to their gods. Your modern mind, which values individual liberty and the right to a fair trial, would find this reality utterly incomprehensible and horrifying beyond measure. But even if you avoid direct capture or death in battle, the constant state of tension affects everything. Your fields are less safe to work, as raids are often conducted by small, stealthy groups. Trade routes become perilous. Every stranger is viewed with suspicion. The anxiety is a constant companion, a low hum beneath the surface of daily life. There is no external police force to call, no government agency to protect you. Your safety relies on the strength of your own community, the vigilance of your warriors, and the blessings of your gods as the day begins to wane and the sounds of battle fade, leaving behind a chilling silence or the mournful wails of the bereaved. You are left with a profound, unshakable sense of vulnerability. Your modern world teaches you that violence is an aberration, a breakdown of order. In the Mayan world, it is an integral part of the order, a tool for political control, religious appeasement, and territorial dominance. The constant threat of being caught in the crossfire, or worse, of becoming a sacrificial victim, would render your modern self a quivering mess of fear and despair, utterly incapable of navigating even one day in this brutal, militarized landscape. The blades of jade, however ancient, cut far deeper than just flesh. They sever your connection to everything you hold safe and true. The mid-afternoon sun beats down relentlessly, and you feel a familiar pang, perhaps a dull ache in your stomach, or a persistent cough that has clung to you for days. In your modern world, this would mean a quick trip to the pharmacy for over-the-counter medicine, or a phone call to schedule an appointment with your doctor. You take for granted the vast, intricate network of medical science that protects you from countless ailments. But here, in the Mayan Empire, your concept of healthcare is a dangerous, almost laughable delusion. Sickness is not viewed as a mere biological malfunction. It is often seen as a spiritual imbalance, the result of divine displeasure, malevolent spirits, or sorcery. Therefore, the healer, the Amen or shaman, is as much a spiritual guide as a medical practitioner. You approach them not with a prescription in hand, but with reverence, fear, and a desperate hope for supernatural intervention. Forget sterile examination rooms, gleaming instruments, and the reassuring scent of antiseptic. You are likely in a smoky, crowded hut, perhaps filled with various herbs, dried animal parts, and the lingering scent of incense. The healer, often an elder with deep knowledge of local flora and spiritual practices, would examine you. This isn't a quick check of your vital signs. It's a holistic assessment, sometimes involving divination, interpreting signs, or even entering a trance state to communicate with spirits. You might be asked to describe your dreams, your recent behavior, or any perceived transgressions that could have angered the gods. Your modern notion of a purely physical ailment, detached from moral or spiritual context, is completely alien here. Treatment is equally removed from your experience. There are no antibiotics to fight bacterial infections, no antivirals, no sophisticated pain relievers beyond a few potent plant extracts. Instead, the healer would apply poultices of specific herbs, administer teas brewed from jungle plants, or perform ritualistic cleansings, perhaps involving fumigation with specific smokes or chants. You might be given a concoction that tastes bitter, earthy, and unfamiliar, hoping it will expel the malevolent spirit or rebalance your inner humors. Some Mayan medicinal knowledge was remarkably advanced for its time. They understood the properties of certain plants, performed basic surgery, and set broken bones. But their understanding of germ theory was non-existent, and their methods, by modern standards, were often crude and ineffective against many common diseases. Imagine a simple cut on your hand, an abrasion you might get while working in the fields. In your world, a quick wash with soap and water, a dab of antiseptic, and a band-aid would prevent infection. Here, that same cut, exposed to the constant humidity, the dust, and the myriad bacteria in the environment, could quickly fester, swell, and become dangerously infected. Without antibiotics, a simple bacterial infection could lead to sepsis, blood poisoning, and a slow, agonizing death. Your body, accustomed to a sterile environment and quick medical intervention, is a perfect breeding ground for ancient pathogens that would overwhelm your immune system with frightening speed. Childbirth is another terrifying prospect. In your modern world, you expect a sterile hospital, trained medical staff, pain relief, and immediate intervention for complications. In the Mayan world, childbirth is a dangerous, often fatal ordeal for both mother and child. Infant mortality rates are staggeringly high. Diseases like dysentery, measles, smallpox after European contact, but a host of other endemic diseases before, and respiratory infections claimed countless young lives. Even a simple fever could quickly escalate into a life-threatening condition in a world without basic palliative care, IV fluids, or diagnostic tools. Life expectancy is brutally short. While some individuals might live into old age, the average person could expect to die in their 30s or 40s, cut down by disease, famine, warfare, or the perils of daily life. Your modern expectation of decades of life, of growing old with relative comfort and health, is a luxurious fantasy. Every day lived past childhood is a testament to immense resilience, sheer luck, and perhaps the favor of the gods as the day wears on, and your minor ailment persists or even worsens. You confront the stark reality. You are utterly alone against the relentless onslaught of disease and injury. There's no emergency room to rush to, no specialist to consult, no guaranteed cure. Your pampered modern body, shielded for so long by the wonders of science, finds itself shockingly vulnerable. The healer's touch, while perhaps comforting to the Mayan mind, offers little solace to your rational, medically informed self. You realize with a chilling certainty that your survival depends not on the primitive medicine available, but on an almost impossible stroke of luck, a resilience you simply don't possess. The Grim Reaper, far from being a distant figure, feels like a constant, palpable presence, his cold breath already on your neck, ready to claim you for even the slightest transgression against the brutal realities of ancient health. As the shadows lengthen and the sun begins its slow descent, painting the western sky in fiery hues, you might find your path crossing with others, perhaps a noble, an artisan, or even a priest, returning from his sacred duties. In your modern world, you interact with people from all walks of life with a general expectation of civility and, ideally, equality. Your social standing, while it exists, is often fluid, something you can ostensibly change through hard work or education. But in the Mayan Empire, the social ladder is a rigid, unforgiving structure, and you, as a commoner or farmer, are firmly fixed to its lowest rungs. There's no rags to riches story here. Your birth dictates your destiny, your opportunities, and your very interactions with those above you. Imagine walking along a causeway and suddenly encountering a noble, perhaps a minor lord or a high-ranking official. He is immediately distinguishable by his more elaborate clothing, perhaps woven cotton adorned with intricate patterns, or the jade ear spools and necklaces that signify his status. His posture is regal, his gaze direct and authoritative. Your instinct, as a modern individual, might be to nod politely, perhaps even make eye contact, a sign of mutual respect. Here, such an action would be a grave transgression, a profound disrespect. You are expected to avert your gaze, to lower your head, to make yourself small and deferential. To challenge or even inadvertently slight someone of higher status could have severe, even fatal consequences. There is no concept of individual rights for someone of your standing. Your primary role is to serve, to work the land, to contribute your labor and your produce to the upkeep of the state and the elite. Your life is not your own in the sense you understand it. You are a cog in a vast, complex machine, and your individual desires or aspirations are secondary to the needs of the community and the demands of your rulers. Your produce, your harvest, is not entirely yours to keep. A significant portion must be rendered as tribute to the governing lord, contributing to the feasts, the rituals, and the upkeep of the nobility and priesthood. Failure to provide this tribute, whether due to a bad harvest or perceived laziness, would result in harsh punishment, not understanding or leniency. Justice, too, is administered differently. If you are accused of a crime, theft, assault, or a more serious offense, your fate is in the hands of the local lord or a designated judge, likely someone of higher status. There are no lengthy trials with legal representation as you know it. Justice is often swift, brutal, and public, designed to maintain order and reinforce the power of the ruling class. Punishments might range from public shaming and restitution to mutilation or even death, depending on the severity of the offense and the mood of your judge. Your modern expectations of due process, of appealing a verdict, are utterly non-existent. Your life, in the eyes of the law, holds little value compared to the maintenance of social order and the authority of the elite. Even your daily interactions are governed by this strict hierarchy. You speak when spoken to, you defer to elders, you understand your place. There is a constant, subtle pressure to conform, to obey, to remain within the boundaries prescribed by your birth. Any display of ambition, any attempt to rise above your station without sanctioned means, such as becoming a skilled artisan or a brave warrior, often still within the established framework, could be met with suspicion and repression. Your modern spirit of individualism, your belief in forging your own path, would be seen as chaotic, dangerous, and profoundly disruptive to the established order. Your world is one of limited choices. You work the land. Your children will likely work the land. Your dreams of education, of travel, of pursuing a passion are luxuries afforded only to a tiny elite. You are tied to your village, to your milpa, to your obligations. The weight of this social immobility, this lack of personal agency, would be crushing to your modern psyche. You thrive on choice, on the illusion of control over your destiny. Here, destiny is largely predetermined, and your daily existence is a constant reminder of your subordinate position. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long, dramatic shadows across the plazas and temples, you are left with a profound realization. Your modern identity, so intricately tied to your personal freedoms, your rights, and your ability to shape your own future, is utterly stripped away in this ancient world. You are not a unique individual with boundless potential. You are a unit of labor, a subject, a cog in a divine and rigidly structured cosmic order. The sheer mental and emotional toll of existing at the bottom of such a brutal social hierarchy, with no hope of ascent and no recourse for injustice, would leave your modern self utterly broken and demoralized far sooner than any physical hardship could. Your very sense of self, fundamental to your survival, would simply cease to exist as dusk begins to settle, painting the sky with fleeting hues of orange and purple. The jungle, which has been a constant presence throughout your day, truly begins to stir. During the bright, hot hours, it was a backdrop, a source of sustenance, a place of labor. But as the light fades, the jungle transforms, shedding its daytime facade and revealing its true, primal nature. Forget the manicured parks, the well-lit streets, or the reassuring sounds of distant traffic. The Mayan jungle at night is a living, breathing, dangerous entity, and you are acutely aware of your fragile place within its merciless embrace. The first thing that strikes you is the sound. The chirping of crickets and the croaking of frogs swell into a deafening symphony, a constant, high-pitched hum that penetrates every corner of your hearing. But beneath that, you begin to discern other sounds, the rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig, the distant guttural growl that sends an immediate, primal shiver down your spine. This is the sound of predators awakening, their nocturnal hunts beginning. You are not at the top of the food chain here. You are merely another potential meal. The most feared predator, the king of this jungle, is the jaguar. Forget the cute spotted cat of nature documentaries. Here, the jaguar is a spiritual entity, a fierce hunter, a symbol of power and death. You know its eyes, luminous in the dark, could be watching you from the dense undergrowth. Its strength is legendary, capable of taking down prey far larger than itself. To encounter a jaguar in the open, especially at night, is almost certainly a death sentence. Your modern reflexes, your ability to call for help, your knowledge of how to deter large predators would be utterly useless against such an ancient, efficient killing machine. The sheer terror of its potential presence is a constant, suffocating fear, but jaguars are not your only concern. The jungle floor, even near your village, is a teeming mass of venomous snakes. The fer-de-lance, its skin camouflaged perfectly with the leaf litter, waits silently. The coral snake, with its vivid warning colors, carries a potent neurotoxin. A single careless step in the encroaching darkness, a moment of inattention could mean a bite that would send you into agonizing pain, paralysis, and an inevitable, slow death in a world without anti-venom or even basic emergency care. You learn to walk with extreme caution, your eyes constantly scanning the ground, even in the dim light of dusk. And then there are the insects, the tireless legions that make up a significant portion of the jungle's biomass. Mosquitoes, of course, are a constant nuisance, their bites causing not just itching, but carrying deadly diseases like malaria and yellow fever, fevers, chills, debilitating weakness that could easily claim your life. But there are also scorpions, their stings excruciatingly painful and sometimes lethal. There are spiders, some venomous. There are ants, armies of them, capable of delivering painful, stinging bites. There are chiggers, ticks, and 1,000 other unseen creatures that burrow, bite, and infest, turning your skin into a constantly itching, irritating landscape. Your modern aversion to creepy crawlies would quickly escalate into a full-blown phobia, a constant physical torment that would erode your mental state. The very plants of the jungle hold their own dangers. Thorn-covered vines snag at your clothing, leaving painful scratches. Certain leaves or berries can cause severe irritation or be lethally poisonous if ingested. The thick canopy, which provides shade from the sun, also creates a dense, claustrophobic environment, easy to get lost in, easy to become disoriented. If you were to stray from the familiar paths after dark, even a short distance, the chances of finding your way back would diminish rapidly, leaving you alone and vulnerable to all the jungle's nocturnal perils. The constant humidity, the thick, heavy air, and the sheer density of vegetation also contribute to a pervasive sense of unease. You are never truly alone, never truly safe. The jungle is a living, breathing, unyielding force, constantly testing your resilience, your awareness, and your will to survive. Your modern reliance on technology, on artificial light, on the controlled environment of your home has utterly disarmed you for this raw, untamed reality. The sounds of the night, which you might find exotic or even soothing in a nature documentary, are here a chilling reminder of your vulnerability, a constant symphony of danger. As true darkness finally descends, engulfing the landscape in a velvety blackness that few modern city dwellers ever experience, you realize that the jungle's embrace is not one of comfort, but of suffocating peril. The unseen eyes, the unseen fangs, the unseen stingers, they're all out there, waiting. Your body aches from the day's labor. Your mind is exhausted from the constant vigilance, and your spirit is frayed by the pervasive fear. You have barely survived the daylight hours, but now, as the jungle truly comes alive, you confront the chilling reality that this environment alone, with its relentless array of predators and insidious perils, would claim your modern life before the first hint of another Mayan dawn. As the last vestiges of daylight fade, taking with them the vibrant colors of the tropical sky, a profound darkness descends upon the Mayan world. Forget the gentle flick of a light switch, the soft glow of streetlights, or the comforting screen of your television. Here, true darkness is absolute, a thick, palpable blanket that smothers all but the most immediate visual perception. This isn't just an absence of light. It's a fundamental shift in your entire existence, amplifying every fear, every discomfort, every vulnerability. You are likely in your small, simple hut, now a cavern of deep shadows. The only light source might be a small, flickering fire in the hearth or a resin-soaked torch, its smoke acrid in the enclosed space. The flames cast dancing, exaggerated shadows on the walls, transforming familiar objects into monstrous, shifting shapes that play tricks on your modern, unaccustomed eyes. Your senses, deprived of visual cues, heighten dramatically. Every creak of the hut, every rustle of leaves outside, every distant animal call is magnified, taking on an ominous quality. The fear of the unseen is immense. Your mind, so used to knowing and controlling your environment, is now plunged into a realm of terrifying uncertainty. What lurks outside your fragile walls? Is it a predatory animal drawn by the scent of your cooking fire? Is it a raiding party from a rival village moving stealthily under the cloak of night? Is it a malevolent spirit, a denizen of the underworld, seeking to ensnare the unwary? Your modern rationality screams against these ancient fears, but in the oppressive darkness, reason offers little comfort. The Mayan cosmos is alive with unseen forces, and the night is their domain. Sleep is not the peaceful respite you crave. You lie on your hard mat, acutely aware of every itch, every insect bite, every ache in your exhausted body. The humidity remains a constant, cloying presence that makes true comfort impossible. The sounds of the jungle, which were a symphony during the day, now become a menacing chorus. The incessant buzzing of mosquitoes, the chittering of unseen creatures in the thatch, the distant, eerie cry of a night bird that sounds like a human wail. Each sound plays on your nerves, keeping you perpetually on edge. There are no modern conveniences to distract you from the darkness and the fear. No books to read, no music to listen to, no screens to scroll. Your only companions are your thoughts, often spiraling into anxieties about the next day's labor, the ever-present threat of disease, or the terrifying demands of the gods. The psychological toll of constant vigilance, of knowing that danger lurks just beyond the flickering firelight, would be immense. Your modern mind, accustomed to safety and predictability, would quickly unravel under this relentless pressure. Even simple tasks become fraught with peril. If you need to venture outside your hut for any reason, the darkness forces you to move with extreme caution. Every step is a gamble against snakes, scorpions, or unseen obstacles. The concept of a flashlight, a simple beam of light to dispel the shadows, is a technological marvel beyond comprehension. You are utterly dependent on your limited night vision and the meager light of the moon if it deigns to show itself through the dense canopy. The sense of vulnerability is overwhelming. You are a small, fragile human in a vast, untamed world, utterly exposed to its dangers. There are no locks on your door that would withstand a determined intruder, no alarm systems, no immediate means of defense beyond a crude weapon. Your modern sense of personal security, so intricately linked to the built environment and the rule of law, is utterly shattered. You realize that your entire concept of safety is a luxury, a product of your modern world, and here it simply does not exist as the long, terrifying hours of the Mayan night slowly crawl by. You find yourself yearning for the first hint of dawn, for the safety of the sun's return. But even the promise of morning brings its own anxieties. The renewed physical labor, the dangers of the fields, the unpredictable will of the gods. The end of a Mayan day isn't a transition to peaceful rest. It's a descent into a new kind of struggle. A battle against the darkness, against fear, against the sheer vulnerability of your existence. Your modern self, utterly reliant on artificial light and the illusion of control, would find these hours a living nightmare, eroding your sanity and your will to survive long before the first hint of a new day brought renewed, yet equally brutal, challenges. You realize with chilling clarity that you wouldn't just not survive a day, you wouldn't survive a single night as the hypothetical Mayan dawn finally breaks, chasing away the long, terrifying night, and you're jolted awake once more by the cacophony of the jungle. Take a moment to breathe. Now open your eyes. You're not on a hard, damp palm mat, but in your own comfortable bed. The air around you is climate-controlled, familiar. The piercing shriek of howler monkeys has been replaced by the gentle hum of your refrigerator or the distant traffic on a paved road. The acrid smell of wood smoke and decay is gone, replaced by the subtle scent of your detergent or the freshness of your home. You reach for your phone, perhaps to check the time, a device that represents millennia of technological advancement beyond anything the Maya could have conceived. You think of the pain of hunger, the constant fear, the back-breaking labor, the pervasive threat of disease, the rigid social hierarchy, and the brutal demands of ancient gods. You recall the taste of bland corn and beans, the burning of the tropical sun on your skin, the incessant bites of insects, the constant risk of snakebite or a jaguar's attack, and the profound, absolute darkness of a world without electricity. This journey, though imagined, has hopefully illuminated the stark, visceral reality of daily life in the Mayan Empire. It wasn't a romanticized civilization of mystical wisdom, but a gritty, demanding, and often brutal existence where survival was a moment-to-moment struggle against nature, disease, and the whims of powerful forces, both human and divine. Your modern comforts, your clean water, your varied diet, your medical care, your personal freedoms, your sense of safety, are not just conveniences. They are the very fabric of your survival. They are luxuries that ancient peoples, even those as sophisticated as the Maya, could never have dreamed of. So as you go about your day, perhaps pouring that hot cup of coffee or turning on a light, or simply enjoying the quiet safety of your home, take a moment to truly appreciate it. This brief immersion into the Mayan world wasn't just a story. It was a stark reminder of how far humanity has come and how incredibly fortunate you are to live in the comforts of the 21st century. Those echoes of the past, of a life you simply wouldn't survive should resonate with a profound sense of gratitude. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and appreciate the present.